We, the people, tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. We, the people, are the driver. The government is the car. And we decide where it should go and by what route and how fast. Almost all the world's constitutions are documents in which governments tell the people what their privileges are.
Hey everyone, welcome once again to yet another episode of Two Noobs Talking with my good buddy John Tracy, otherwise known as Muff Flanagan. How you doing, John? What's going on?
It's all about the boom.
It's all about the boom, baby. I'm affectionately known as Budge in caps.
There we go. In caps. It's
in all caps. Budge.
I want to bang my head against the wall. Is that what you said? I was watching it earlier. It was hilarious. We don't know what we're talking about. Adam Cole and John Silver are great.
They're great. I'm, of course, by reality, I'm Matt Craig, of course, happy to be with all of you. And, here we are, John, episode 57. We obviously have a lot to get to.
All about the boom now.
It is all about the boom, baby. And, but before we hit the big boom, let's talk about those players that wore 57 in the city of Philadelphia, right? As we always do, start. 57 is kind of like an odd number.
Very much so. We did a lot of research.
We were looking
came up with a couple.
Yeah, we came up with a couple on the Eagles side, right? I mean, there was, I remember Keith Adams specifically, I should say.
Andy Reid era? Yep.
Andy Reid era, yeah. Kind of came in, filled in 2004, got us to the Super Bowl.
Good pilot.
One thing we didn't realize was that Bill Cowher wore that number when he played for the Eagles in the early 80s. I think that shocked us, right? I mean,
all time, one of the all-time greatest coach, great interview, great man, good player.
Yeah, Hall of Famer.
Did it all. Coached and played, and now as an analyst, or was an analyst, just a great football mind.
Just a great dude, yeah.
That's cool that we get to talk about him on 57.
Exactly. But there's also some Philly pitchers that were kind of, near and dear to your heart there, bud.
Our favorite ninth or eighth inning guy forever, Ryan Matson. He seemed to wore every number that we've had. But again, Ryan Matson wore 57 for a season or a game that we don't even know. We just know it was linked to his.
Definitely in the early 2000s, I think.
Yes.
When he first
I think in 2003, 2004, something like that. Mm-hmm. And then we got one of my favorite players of all time, just because of the name, Amari Telemaco. Everybody remembers him.
That was great. Yeah, a decent pitcher. You're not going to win a ton of games.
His stats. He wasn't bad. He wasn't bad. He wasn't great, but he wasn't bad. And then you had one more from our orange and black.
Yeah, guy who's currently wearing it now, and the only player to have ever worn number 57, Wade Allison. So I'm guessing he probably is I'm guessing he's probably in the Phantoms and organization, and probably we'll have to check with Steve if he's actually started a game.
Yeah, I don't know.
We looked it up. He's there. So, Wade Allison, congratulations. You're wearing 57, bud.
The only 57 ever? It just doesn't seem right.
It doesn't seem right, yeah. But it is an odd number. Like you said, it's like I said before, it's kind of just weird to have. Well, Johnny, let's talk about the boom that was leveled this past Tuesday. My goodness gracious. Topic 1 here, as we flash it up on screen. The off-state elections in Virginia and New Jersey.
Yep.
Wow. What a message sent, right? I mean, essentially the establishment has been deleted.
No, you're 100% right. Steve sent the greatest text message.
Yeah.
To us during the election was like, if what just happened in Jersey is real, there's a place for centralism, and we're absolutely right. A Republican governor, he's not conceding an election because it was that close, and I agree that they shouldn't. They should make it. I think the analogy I gave you before, they should make forensic audits very, very normalized in voting after. We don't need to know right now. The news places don't need to call it. What you need is a forensic audit. I think my analogy I gave you was if you gathered up 100 pennies and you counted it 3 times, right? Mm-hmm. And then you get to the store and the clerk is like, there's only 99 pennies. what are you going to do? Are you going to recount the pennies there with him? Or are you going to just take your ball and go home and start a fight with him because he says it's 99, but you think it's 100?
100. Yeah.
That's what voting is.
Yeah.
In reality, with the forensic audits. So
really, it's a very close election in that regard in the state of New Jersey. You have to have a forensic audit, and I couldn't agree with you more in regards to that.
So I hope that does happen.
This was a huge, and this was not about Republican, Democrat, right? No. This was all about the issues that were like front and center, everything from COVID. And it was interesting, in either one of the two states, different specific like subjects really were on the docket.
Absolutely.
Virginia, it was all about education. And McAuliffe was an absolute idiot in saying, like, well, the parents, they don't need to have, the say.
It almost feels like a setup.
Yeah.
Because it's the one thing you don't say.
Yeah.
Coming into an election.
Yeah. And especially within a week before the election.
It shows that he's a career politician and he doesn't know what his base wants. And that's why he's not an elected governor anymore. Yeah. And Murphy just holding on by the skin of his. He's not a fan of two Noobs, and we're not a fan of his. No. I really was hoping he would get, but reality is Jersey's different.
Yeah.
Because you're talking 85% Democrat. Biden won that thing by 14%.
Yeah, easily. Yeah, it was not even close. And within the span of a year, it went from 14% in favor of the Democrats down to like a fraction of a percent.
That's insane.
That is incredible. Yeah.
That actually puts the conservative liberal argument of California, can it be flipped? It actually shows if you act that much a fool like Governor Murphy did, and we know what's the name out there did.
Oh yeah, Newsom. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Newsom.
Yeah.
That it can be flipped. It wasn't flipped for Newsom, but it also wasn't. They're saying it wasn't flipped for Murphy, but there's a groundswell, and we talked about this early on during this thing, that this was 2022 is going to be shocking to all of us.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm just a forecaster of politics. I have a lot of understanding of it, and I read a lot about it, and I kind of know where it's going. This came out of left field.
Oh,
I thought Murphy was going to win. No joke. I thought he was going to win 65%. Easy. They were going to keep him. He was going to get his last term in because he's right in that popularity.
Yeah.
Maybe Biden being an idiot kind of hurt him. Probably. Yeah. I mean, but 14% is weird.
I mean, to be perfect, that's weird. Let's think about this, because in 2020, obviously, you had Trump on the ballot, and for the left and for the Democrats, it was a rallying cry to kind of say, hey, look, we change the status quo. We'll run this thing better. And they clearly have not. Clearly.
Yeah.
When it comes to economics, when it comes to COVID, when it comes to, fill in the blank, when it comes to education, they clearly have lost what the people have said. And I think this is very important. When we were talking about this with Steve, it was all about really the people rising up and saying, hey, look, listen, you guys have overplayed your hand here.
Yeah, this isn't red or blue.
Yeah, this is not red or blue. Yeah. What you're saying to us is we're better than you. And it's the classic, the elites are always better than the commoners. And the commoners are kind of like, no, you're not even close. You don't even know what's on the ground. I mean, to give you an idea too, Johnny, Loudoun County in Virginia, that's like just outside of Fairfax. I mean, this is a deep...
I know Fairfax well, yes.
Yeah. So you're talking like that county was in favor of Biden by 24%.
That's a huge number.
It was shrunk down to 10 in this last election. It still went blue for the Democrat, for McAuliffe, but it went from 24 to 10.
That's the same thing with what we're talking about with Murphy. And that's literally, for people that don't understand the red and blue voting, that's literally like a dead red state like Texas just gets close to going blue.
Mm-hmm.
Like, again, something like Texas never does.
Yeah.
It's always going to be red. It's just always going to be red. Just like California is always going to be blue. Yeah. That's what we mean as being that close, is like something like take it on a grander scale, is like the red or the blue state just literally on the brink of flipping. And that county, 10%. Could you imagine?
Oh.
Could you imagine if they did more on the ground, glad handing, put more money into that county? They could have flipped that county.
They could have flipped the county.
Crazy.
Yeah. And especially, and I keep thinking about this too. We talked about this a little bit in pre-production the other day. How did this all get started, right? I mean, you don't see swings like this very often in politics. You just don't.
It's rare.
It takes years for this to happen, and this is happening in a year. So it's like, what the heck's going on? How did this all get started? And I kind of floated the idea out to you that really, I think it was Pennsylvania that kind of got it all started when when the state Senate and the state House kind of said, hey, look, listen, this whole thing with COVID, we have a 90-day state of emergency.
Yeah.
And the governor has overstepped his bounds and has issued so many different emergency state declarations that last 90 days, and you don't get a chance to review it. He just keeps doing it.
Yep.
Therefore, let's amend this in the Constitution that now we have to go in to not only just reduce that from 90 days down to 3 weeks, but then on top of that, it's like the government has to show us evidence now.
Yes.
Of what's going on. And 53% said yes. That is where I think it all started. And that was the first state in the union that did something like that ever in the history of the country.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of those stories too. We talked about this. There's a lot of these stories where different states are doing different things using the state power, because who's more important? The people. And who's in more control of this country? The states. The president he's a figurehead. He can do some things. He can't really do much. He's not going to do much after 2020. So everybody can sleep. Like, if you're worried about Biden now, you're going to sleep easy after 2022, because he's going to be the biggest name to be a lame duck president.
Oh, easily.
Since Nixon.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's lame duck. He's going to spend his remaining years in the White House not being able to do anything, because even when the House and the Senate both flip, because we know that's going to happen, he can't even put an executive order out.
Yeah.
He can try it, but they can just sue him back.
Well, and that's the thing. I think you're going to start to see that more and more with the fact that the mandate now is being challenged in court, and this will go all the way up to the Supreme Court. I have no doubt about that.
It happened with that. What the media doesn't want to tell you is that it already happened with the January 4th mandate.
Yeah,
it's already, a lawsuit has already been filed, so that January 4th mandate is not going to stand up. It's going to stay.
Yeah,
they're going to get it all the way up to the Supreme Court, because it's a constitutional thing. For what? Not just Republicans, Democrats are even saying that Biden overstepped his boundaries of the Constitution.
Big time.
It's not just one side. This isn't just the GOP running around acting crazy like they used to. These are both. It was a bipartisan sue to push this thing off.
Yeah.
I hope they do well. I hope they do well with it, because it's totally overstepping the Constitution.
John, that is such a key point, because at the end of the day, if it wasn't like people driven, and I think that's our main argument here. This is all the people. It doesn't matter like on what side of the aisle you're on. You're noticing this. You're seeing this, and as a regular Joe, say like you get a family, couple kids, it's like, and I think the truck driver in New Jersey that won the state's
one of the coolest. It's one of the
coolest. One of the best stories.
$156 he spent.
Yeah,
going door to door.
Breitbart News had interviewed him over the phone, and he said this, quote, "The main issue was rights. People talk about how New Jersey has the highest taxes, we're the worst state for business, high debt, so on, but the bottom line is rights. It's all about family. When somebody's messing with your family, you'll do anything."
Yeah.
The governor was messing with people's families. When you mess with somebody's job, their livelihood, their homes, their children, people just won't take that, end quote.
It's one of the smartest things I've heard in a really long time.
By the way, this truck driver that won, I still can't get over that.
It's hilarious.
He's door to door. So he's knocking on the door just saying, hey, I'm running.
$156.
Yeah, I'm running for state senate. The guy that I'm running up against is laughing at me and won't debate me. So I need your vote to send a message.
Yeah, and the dude is the guy that he was running against and beat is a millionaire.
Yeah,
I don't know how much money he spent, but from what one of the articles, not the Breitbart article that you put up, but one of the other articles I read, it was a huge amount. That's all I could remember. It was a huge amount, and it's good on him.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Won by 4% in the population.
Good, but that's all we need to win by. The people just need to win by 1%, and this is you're saying it. I think people are really, really tired of the BS.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're seeing this is small compared to 2022.
Oh, it's not.
This is small. Like I said, I know a little bit about projecting. Like I projected presidents over the last. I understand politics the way politics work. I get it. I know how to be slimy. I'm just not slimy. But I know what they're doing. I know how they do it. I know what they're doing. I can see. This is why I say all the time with politics that I don't think there's a president after this president because there is nobody on the radar.
That's the thing.
It has to come from the 2022 elections. We got to figure that out because we don't have anybody to grab onto.
Yeah.
We got slime.
And it's interesting because we were both kind of having that kind of a discussion early on. So who do you think would be in that position? Of course, naturally, you start to think if you're the Republican side, you got that, governor down in Florida. He's pretty popular right now.
Yeah, DeSantis, but
at the same time, it's like, listen,
too Trump heavy.
Right. So the question is, what do you do? And I floated out the idea of a Condi Rice,
which I wasn't even thinking of.
Yeah,
absolutely loved and adored. And my immediate to Matt's Condi was, dude, Tulsi should run against her. Because those two know how to get shit done.
Oh yeah, easily.
They're two humans.
Yeah,
that literally know how to get shit done. They know how to fight against the bullshit politics. They understand their constituents.
They have grace and class and dignity.
Exactly. There's so many good qualities to those two people.
Yeah.
I want to see what happens after 2022. It wouldn't shock me if those two names were in the hat somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. That's
because I don't think I know Republicans are going to run Trumpers. They're totally going to run it. Pence will probably put his name in the hat. You'll get DeSantis putting his name in the hat. You'll get those very heavy Trumper guys, the Cruzes and
but in no way
gonna run. What's his name? Rand Paul's definitely gonna run that crazy.
Yeah, for sure. But in no way, I don't think, and this is the thing, Johnny, I don't think the former president should run again.
No, I don't think so either.
Where he set a foundation, but now it's up to the centrists in both parties.
I absolutely agree.
To come together and say, listen, we've had the extremes on either side for the last 20 years. When are we, the people, going to stand
get our
up
president?
here?
Yeah, we're going to get our president. And, it might happen.
Yeah.
I think
it has me fired up. I don't know about you.
I mean, I love it. I'm happy. I'm like you said a couple of weeks ago. It's a great time to be alive if you want to be involved.
Yeah.
In your country and it's a really good time to be alive because there's a chance for debate, even though the media doesn't want it to be that way. They want this shut down society, but
yeah.
Well, speaking of the media.
Speaking of the media.
Yeah, because this graft is just, we need to go to this. It's funny that we just walked into that two noob style.
Really, really amazing, Johnny, when you stop to think about it. Issuesinsinsights.com, has this poll up and, pretty much around the G20, the United States media is last in terms of proportion that trust news most of the time. Yes. They're dead last. And trust in traditional media, we're going to throw up this pie chart on screen here. And as you can see, for our audio listeners, I'll just read it off here. Quite a bit of trust is 24%. A lot of trust is 14%. Combine those two percentages, you're looking at 38%.
Yeah.
Little or no trust at all or not sure is a combined 62%.
And what was the greatest quote? If there's a little doubt. there's a ton of doubt.
Yeah.
Because even just that little speck of doubt counts. It really does. Because everybody has trust issues, especially if you've grown up in America in the last 50 years. You have trust issues.
Oh, absolutely.
Everybody knows what it's like to not trust something.
What's really amazing too, and that's another great point you point out, because this was a huge it's a huge issue here, because it's like a lot of the media is not really telling you the who, what, where, why, and when.
Yeah.
It's more based on speculation. Anonymous sources have told me.
Ain't that the truth?
It's like, seriously, how do you, like, you have to quote them. You have to say, I'm willing to step up to the plate here and saying, you could quote me on this.
But they've made it, but that's the thing with the media, where this is where the mistrust comes from.
Yes.
Because they don't do what did Denzel Washington say? It's all about being first. It's not about being right.
Not about being
retractions
right.
Don't mean anything anymore.
Yeah.
Because there is no dignity in the media anymore.
No.
They'll retract. Trust me, they retract everything. I follow that a lot.
Well, and what's worse too is that you see
they just retracted on the last page because they figured out the game. It's on the last page, and it's 5 days after.
5 days after the fact, when anything else.
Not reading the last page.
Yeah, yeah, and you see that happening. And I hate to say this, but it's true. You see all of this anonymous source type stuff, anonymous source type reporting, when you see it in the rights relation issues that we've had.
Absolutely, because it's all made
all
up
over the place.
To be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because it's all made up stories.
Yeah.
Moving on to our next thing is a great understanding of us even getting caught up in that.
Yeah, it's another one of our really famous Fab 5 updates, Johnny. And here we go once again. A wonderful ex-governor Andrew Cuomo. And New York Post article here, Albany DA, Cuomo sex harassment criminal charge from sheriff potentially defective.
And and just for layman's terms,
really creepy photo of Cuomo here on.
I know, it was a really creepy photo. So for layman's terms, what happened is the DA wanted to do something but was investigating, and then the sheriff's department overjumped them and put the indictment out. So now Cuomo's lawyers, because he's got more money than he should being a governor, has now stayed this case until January 6th or 7th. Because the investigation isn't done, and a judge can't honestly look at the DA when the DA is like, well, I wasn't done.
Yeah.
And like, you got infighting because but you also got the Post being a piece of garbage by running a story when they didn't even do any legwork on it. That's why now we have to put a retraction out and tell you that he's not going to jail on February 17th.
Yeah.
He's going. They're not even going to investigate this until January 7th.
Until after the holidays are over.
This is the whole point of.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, like what's happening is the district attorney basically is claiming that the sexual harassment charge that was leveled. Yeah. Because it lacks a sworn statement from the victim.
Yeah. Because they weren't done their legwork, and the sheriff's department jumped over them to put the indictment out. That's the problem.
And
and there's no reason for that, because the DA should probably, if you had a real, if New York had a real system, they'd be in contact and nobody would make.
Yeah, like how does that? I mean,
that's a very simple mistake being made.
I guess so. Yeah, I mean, that's like,
it gets
I would think you would want to button that up too. You know,
you might want to button that up. The new mayor should probably stop talking about vaccinations and probably start talking about fixing the shit in you know what I mean? Because obviously you're not running a tight ship like Cuomo wasn't. I mean,
no. I mean, that being said, John, I mean, I hate to speculate, but I am. What do you think about?
We have a podcast. We're allowed to.
I guess we're allowed to do that. What do you think about all of this? I mean, with everything.
I think New York is run like a piece of shit.
Yeah, pretty bad.
It doesn't matter who the leader is, because you can't even arrest a guy that needs to be arrested. It's hilarious to me.
Yeah.
It's absolutely hilarious to me that you cannot put the guy in jail that needs to be put in jail.
Yeah.
Why? Because his cronies, he's got money, he's got his cronies, he's got his brother.
Got that war chest. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got they're even trying to his lawyers are still trying to get that book deal reinstated.
Oh.
He's that much of a scumbag.
Oh gosh.
He's that much of a scumbag.
It's
And
just unbelievable.
This shows that, and goes just with the voting. 2022, get these idiots out. Because they are cronies of the cronies.
Of the highest order.
Need to go. All of them need to go.
Yeah.
Like, it's we the people. It isn't we the rich people. Yeah. It's we the people.
The people. Yeah. Like the government definitely reports to us and not the other way around, as we went off with Reagan, I mean, at the beginning of this episode. So, hey, we drive the car. We got to get a new car in there and we got to start driving it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I know everybody's tired of hearing me bitch and moan about Cuomo. I get it. I appreciate you guys for listening. But it's slimier than that.
Yeah.
And I think that's the one thing I want people to take from what I said about Cuomo and this debauchery of government that can't even get this dude indicted. Now that pisses me off more than anything that Cuomo ever did. Like, now you just slimeballed out of it. Now I want to see you go down.
No question.
Now it's time for you to go down.
Now it's time for you to be righteous.
You're using the people that were elected after you or appointed after you to your advantage. You're that much of a scumbag.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, the guy just needs to go away and be locked up. And like we said before,
he just needs to be in a jail cell.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just like Hillary's boy that just got locked up. They need to be in jail cells. These people are terrible. If you don't know what I'm talking about, read Dan Bongino's book, Follow the Money. You'll
take a look at that. Yeah. Exactly.
It'll be fine.
Johnny, this one, topic 3 here.
I need to breathe.
Colin Kaepernick, otherwise known as Colin Kaepernick, if you had him ever on your fantasy football team, he was not that good of a quarterback.
He was a terrible fantasy quarterback.
Fantasy quarterback. Yeah, one really good year, and then all of a sudden, everything just went downhill. So I don't,
You can play a little.
I had
no issues with him.
This though,
before you put this up, okay?
Yep.
I agree with a lot that Colin Kaepernick says.
Mm-hmm.
Not everything, but I agree with a lot of what he says. I disagree with the kneeling for the national anthem. I think
that confuses the heck out of me.
So yeah, I think it's disrespectful for soldiers. But I listen to Colin Kaepernick, and I agree with a lot. Players getting paid better, insurance being better, taking care of people better. He's not always wrong. The problem is Nike used him as the woke spokesman,
the poster's boy,
and they bastardized him. But I don't think Colin Kaepernick as a person, from what he was doing, I don't think he's all wrong in his movement.
Great point in that regard, because you're right. He is a human being. He's a person. He has an opinion.
But
the issue that we've got is the opinion is way off the mark, because it's like when you have now listen, the NFL is not a perfect league, no question about it.
It's a piece of garbage.
It's garbage. It's gotten worse over the last 5 to 7 years.
It's cattle herding at its finest.
Yeah,
it really is.
Because you have a boob that's running it in the commissioner's office. Let's face it. I mean, if we're going to be honest with ourselves, Roger Goodell needs to be gone. He needs to be gone from the NFL.
What I honestly think needs to happen is he doesn't need to be gone for the NFL, but you need to hurl Rob Mansfield from the MLB into Goodell so that Manford ceases to exist.
And bumper cars.
Yeah, and then Goodell trips over and sprains his knee, and he's out for a year.
Out for a year. He can't run.
No, Roger Goodell's a piece of shit. That's my personal opinion about Roger Goodell.
No question.
He makes $34 million a year to be a dick. That's all he is. He's not good at anything.
Yeah.
He has no discernible skills. He can't even speak.
One thing, though, with this whole thing with Kaepernick, and this is where first of all, again, it's a one-way conversation that he's trying to have.
Oh, it totally is, because
it's like we can't respond back to him. So I can't.
Can we be honest about Goodell though? He's probably racist. That's why it's a one-way conversation between Colin Kaepernick and Goodell. I'm not afraid to say that.
Probably. Yeah.
I honestly feel that Goodell's probably a little racist.
I think more than anything, he's probably more woke than anything else.
He doesn't do things for the NFL. He does things to spite the NFL and their fans.
He's a spokesperson for the owners. Let's make that very clear, because that's exactly what the
which are majority of them are white. I was wrong on one podcast where I said they were all white because my man who runs AEW and is the money for AEW.
Yeah, exactly.
Owns the Jaguars. He's definitely not white.
But I mean, getting back to Kaepernick real quick, the idea of equating the players in a slave system, they're making, on average, millions of dollars.
Well, he's saying the combine is, which the combine is probably really uncomfortable. But
I would think so.
My only question to him, just talking about the combine, I would agree with him that it feels like a meat market. But maybe that's what you should have said. It was what he is saying is he's going back 350 years in an education that he doesn't have. He just has words.
Yeah.
And this is a problem with the society. We just use words now.
We're just talking. Yeah.
He literally is saying it's like slavery. I wasn't there. He wasn't there. None of us were there. We don't know what it was like. Our history has told us it was fucking terrible.
Absolutely.
So what you can't do as an intelligent man is make a off-centered comment that, the NFL combines like slavery. No, you're wrong. And you're stupid to make that comment.
It's not even close.
If it was like a meat market, this would be a totally different episode. This would be a totally different run on it, because I'd be like, he's fucking right.
Yeah.
He's totally right. It is a meat market, dude. They just want to get up there, Fletcher, do your lifts, move on. We
jump over,
your name is.
40-yard dash, whatever the case.
They don't give a shit about who you are. Totally, they don't give a shit about who they are. But in the end, they pay you a handsome salary if you play their little fucking clown game. That is not what slavery was.
No, not even close. Not even close. Because again, you have the option. You do have the option not to go into the National Football League.
Slavery did not give options.
Exactly.
There was no options. There was nothing.
Perfectly said. I think that is so perfectly said. I want that as a gold.
That is the biggest black
mark
on our society that will ever be. We can never forgive it. We can never make it right. We can never do anything but move forward from it because it was so fucking bad. You can't do anything with it.
This is what you should remember.
I want to.
Right here. Study the past if you would define the future. You study.
I want to go back and make it not happen. I do not have the tools. I do not have the ability.
You don't have the DeLorean in the back?
No, I'm sorry. I mean, Alex Page might, but I don't.
Such a great point, John. You were right on the money. I think that's the disconnect that we're having here, because it's like you can't equate what happened 300-400 years ago to what's happening now. What's happening now is you've got so much in the way of opportunities to do whatever the hell you want. It's not the same as being dragged off. I mean, I remember when I went to Jamestown, Colonial Williamsburg, and seeing the whole triangle and the history. The Portuguese were the ones that initiated slavery. They went into Africa and they started to take over, and that's horrendously horrible. It's not even called for. Not even called for.
I'm pretty pissed that nobody learning that history like that. I'm pretty pissed that nobody stepped up. That's what makes me mad about the whole thing. But there was a lot more nations. There was a lot more nations.
What's even worse about this, John, is that 300 years prior to that, in 1200, the English write the Magna Carta. And you're thinking, what the heck's the Magna Carta? Well, everybody has all rights. So there were elements of a reformation that were happening in there, that people were given God-given rights. Many beautiful document. And
this is way before the Constitution. This is even before Egypt, where Egypt used mostly slaves to build.
So if you have this document, that's the one thing that I will always struggle with. You have this wonderful document that everybody has a God-given right and has been given God-given rights, and you put them into slavery? How does that compute?
It doesn't.
It doesn't compute. It doesn't make sense.
No, because it's not right. It sucks.
It sucks.
It sucks. And it sucks that media uses it against us. It sucks that the education system doesn't teach us what we learned. It was like I said, it's a black mark on our history. We are never going to make it a joke. It's never going to be able to be talked about in a way where we all don't feel that it was a very shitty time. But the only way to do that is to learn from it and move on. And that's all I have to say to Colin Kaepernick. Like, that's a really bad analogy, and you should probably shut up.
Yeah.
Because you don't know.
Yeah. Exactly.
Re-educate yourself. Malcolm X said one of the greatest things ever. This was back in the 60s. I can't exactly remember the date. I don't actually remember the quote. But he said something like, you have to learn before you can speak. It was something similar. I'm just paraphrasing that.
Sure.
But like, you have to learn your history before you can move forward.
That's the reason why you don't delete the past either. You have to have it. It happened. It happened, yes. And it's horrible. But guess what? You now know that it's horrible because it happened.
Yes.
That's key.
And not to go back there.
Is
the best thing that we could do for every part of the human race. The best thing we could do is not take steps backwards.
One final point on this: the Germans, they make sure they teach the history, but they make sure that those kids never ever remember what happened when it came. Well, not never ever remember, but that
never ever what happened
in 1939.
Yeah,
and that it's never repeated again, because that's where it goes down. If you don't confront these people up front, and by these people I mean evil people up front, and say, no, you're trying to divide us.
Yes.
You don't say that phrase by itself unless you know what happened in the past. That's key. You have to study the past in order to forge the future.
Absolutely. And that's what I feel. That's why I feel Colin Kaepernick. Yeah, that's hard to say, man.
That is hard to say.
Woo! Calling him out on that is just it needs to be done, because that's not like I can see it as a post headline on Facebook, and I could see how people will rally behind that and be like, you know what, the NFL sucks. Yes, the NFL
does suck.
Sucks, but it's not that.
Yeah.
It sucks for many other reasons.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what? I'm all on board. If the New York Post wants to say Roger Goodell's racist, I'm all for it. Let's go. I agree.
Yeah.
I just don't think.
Or how he's running it into the ground? Absolutely.
I absolutely think. Is it a piss poor organization? Absolutely. But yeah, slavery, he can't, we have to learn from our mistakes, and it's just too much for me.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree with you on board with that, Johnny.
And I still agree with 85% of what he says. I have no problem with Colin Kaepernick at all.
I guess the only issue I have with him, again,
is the kneeling. Yeah.
What conversation is he trying to have if all he's doing is talking, and we're not allowed to ask him questions?
But I also think that he's trying to have conversations with the NFL, and I think he's getting stonewalled from that, and that's then we need to speak up. Then people need to get behind him, because if we want to find out what he's actually talking about, we might want to knock the guard out that is stopping him from talking.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's a good point.
Because everybody has rights. Colin Kaepernick could, at the end, he could be a lunatic, but I don't know that yet. Because the NFL won't allow him
to talk. Yeah, exactly.
Put him on a podium.
Yeah.
Even the NBA, even David Stern put Allen Iverson on a podium.
Yeah.
And now we love the guy because we learned everything about him.
One of the best. Yeah.
Right.
Allen's great. Yeah.
Right? Because we learned everything. We know where he comes from. We know how he feels. We know he's a real human being.
Right around where he grew up, Newport News. I mean, he was right, Southern Newport.
But that's what I'm saying. Once we got to learn who Allen was as a person, because David Stern wasn't afraid to put people in positions of power and let them be them.
Yeah.
We could learn a lot from the NBA in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
With news, with the NFL, with NHL.
Yeah.
Exactly. Allow people to grow in front of other people, They will be loved and they will be understood, and people will make change.
Something like iron sharpening iron, I think so.
Yes, that's the whole concept.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why David Stern's my favorite commissioner ever.
Yeah. Yeah, he was
of all sports ever. David
Yeah.
Stern did more for the, even though he took it into China, which was probably not his doing.
Not a good idea.
But because China sucks. I don't know if everybody knows this, but yeah. They're terrible at stuff.
Great conversation though, Johnny. Let's move on here because this is very interesting. We got another Stop the Tape segment, which I absolutely love.
Yeah.
But John, before we fire up the video here, you and I have talked a lot about Pro Football Talk on NBC Sports and how much of a piece of trash Mike Florio is. And
you hate Mike Florio badly.
As much like with Andrew Cuomo, I would want to box Mike Florio.
I would totally pay for that.
There you go. I think I could.
I would use my money. I would use my money from the purse that I won from Chris Cuomo to fund that one. I totally would. No joke. Like I totally, because I want I want a little purse from Chris Cuomo because when I knock him out, I'm gonna have to make some money from it.
Exactly.
Because I just don't get up for no money. That's not how I work.
Exactly. So this one got me fired up because.
Big time. You guys weren't involved in the text messages. I would love to produce those text messages.
Oh my gosh. I have just about had it with this, with the whole COVID vaccination. So let's set the whole thing up. Aaron Rodgers, of course, he doesn't get jabbed. He's doing alternative measures and alternative things to combat COVID.
I completely agree. I think Aaron Rodgers is a normal human being.
Like now, to me, this is a great point. That's such a great point you just mentioned, because to me, he's saying, I don't want to get the jab, but I got to figure out a way to throw the kitchen sink at this thing and think like,
he's
okay,
not
what
sitting
can I
on
do?
it.
Yeah. What can I do to make sure that I'm healthy throughout all of this? Because I probably don't fully trust the vaccine, even though they're saying it's 95% effective. I want to make sure.
But that's also okay.
And that's okay. That's perfectly fine. The problem is you have Florio and Chris Sims that, we're going to play the clip here in a little bit, that were basically just essentially ripping Aaron Rodgers for lying to the NFL by saying that he was, quote unquote, vaccinated when he wasn't. He was saying that he was immunized against COVID. He wasn't vaccinated against COVID. And so Florio's saying like, well, what you really have to do is, on the preset, I think at the beginning part, which we're not going to play the clip because Florio's an idiot, saying like, and I made that clip or made that comment on the YouTube clip, Johnny. Yeah. I basically said, I forgot, when you have to wear your mask, that's the 12th commandment. The 11th commandment is be nice. The 12th commandment is wear your mask in public. That kind of bullshit.
You said it.
Set this whole thing up. Go ahead and just share the screen, Johnny. On this.
I'm just going to smile and nod through most of this just so everybody knows.
Oh, my gosh. Now, this is interesting because, you have a Sims who I feel for him right here. I really do. I really, really do. But the way that he goes about all of this and the way that he tries to convince people just isn't right. So let's go ahead and play it. You got that chance there.
I was a guy sitting here that, I wasn't happy to get the vaccine. But I did it for the betterment of mankind.
Stop the tape.
Fellow citizens. I didn't.
Do you want me to say what I said when you sent me that?
Go for it. Go for it.
That's the most narcissistic thing I think I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Literally, just look up narcissist in the dictionary.
Yeah.
When he just for the betterment of mankind. Who the fuck are you?
Yeah.
That's my only question. Who? Really?
Yeah. And
really? For the betterment of mankind. You can't even say for your kids or your wife or your niece's nephew. No, you went straight for mankind.
For mankind.
You're a piece of shit. If that's your thought process, I got the vaccine for the betterment of mankind. You're a narcissist on a whole nother fucking level.
Exactly. He
didn't even think of his wife. Literally did not. Because if I wanted to fight against COVID and I got the vaccine, the first thing I would say is, well, I got it for my family to protect my family. This motherfucker's talking about mankind.
I thought I was the one that was going to get all fired up. You're the one getting fired up here, Johnny.
Because that was a piece of shit comment.
It is a terrible comment. Yeah. To me, this is all about the quota. The quota has to be filled. And I have to essentially guilt you into saying that for the betterment of humanity, you better get shot.
Put some money in his pocket just to say that on his show. He was paid. You can tell he was paid.
Play it.
Didn't want to have that on my conscience of guilt of oh, I might have it and give it to somebody and they get sick and die. I didn't want to deal with that.
Stop the tape. Right there. I want to really focus in on this, Johnny.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot think this way in a pandemic. You cannot. Because there have been so many people that have taken that very thought process and have killed themselves. They've committed suicide over this.
Yeah.
Because they feel an extreme amount of guilt for passing off a virus that they think they might have, but they don't, onto somebody that they find out that they do have COVID and they end up dead because of it.
Oh, let's not
live your life this way. You just can't.
You can't. But also, just because we already know and the reports are coming out, this wasn't a virus that was naturally created. This was created from a lab in China.
Yeah.
So you can't do that because a evil human being released this for everybody. We can't fall apart.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what he's literally saying. And
that's what he's saying.
He got the vaccine.
And he literally was like, to that point, I cannot emphasize this enough, and it drives me crazy because you cannot
live that way.
You can't. You cannot think this way. You cannot.
No, it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt everybody.
It's gonna hurt everybody. Roll it.
It really is.
Yep.
And you couldn't work. What? And you couldn't work. And then I didn't want to have.
Fuck him. He's an agenda-ridden.
Look at the glee in his face. Look at the glee in Florio's face. Yeah. Look at that. Well, you couldn't work. You couldn't work. That's why I want to beat up Florio.
My own personal, competitiveness.
He doesn't even bet. Yo, stop the tape right there.
Yeah.
Chris Sims doesn't even believe what he's saying. Look at him looking down.
Yeah.
Look at him looking down, reading what is supposed. Like, you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Up and be the best I can for my job and my family. I mean, those.
He doesn't believe any of that.
Get the vaccine.
He doesn't believe any of that.
From that standpoint alone, I just can't believe we're talking about this with Aaron Rodgers, where everything is riding on one.
Yeah. And again, I want to make this also a point too. He's making the big issue about I had to get the vaccine because my job was in jeopardy. Well, guess what? There are a lot of people that are going through that right now.
Yeah, and it's unconstitutional.
And it's unconstitutional, and it's none of these two clowns' business what Aaron Rodgers did for his own body.
Yeah.
None of their business. I want to emphasize that. None, none of their business. Period. Period.
One more. He hasn't.
Why did he just do that? Why is he making the Super Bowl the most important thing?
Well, it's all about the Super Bowl.
But he's talking about his job, right? Oh, I got the job, so I can keep my job, and Florio wants to do that. But now he's saying, oh, well, Aaron, you totally could have got tapped, so you could just have one more Super Bowl. The fuck, do you think Aaron Rodgers really cares about another Super Bowl?
Yeah.
No.
But it's all about getting there.
But that's what I mean. They're just making it. This is why I stopped watching sports. I still watch sports, but stopped watching it where I actually cared because they don't actually care.
What was really funny, and we can stop sharing this, Johnny. What was really funny if you go to this actual YouTube clip, which we'll have in our show notes, there's a guy that made a comment that was saying I found stale Cheetos in my couch that was more exciting than watching this clip.
It's so true. No, that's a great. That's better than anything I said during that clip.
It's so true. I felt for Sims, I really did, but at the same time, it's dude, I don't know if it was an act, but to be perfectly honest, it's you should never say those things. Never say those things.
I'm just gonna look down. Matt, I believe that all everything of the rich people, they are right. You see how I'm lying to you? Mm-hmm. That's what he was doing.
That's what he was doing.
It's literally what he was doing.
Yeah.
He was reading a script because he was told to.
Yeah. Well, and the glee on Florio's face when he's like, "Oh wow, this is really cool that I got Chris Sims to admit to the fact that he finally took the vaccine because his job was in jeopardy." That's not the betterment of mankind. I'm sorry.
That is nothing. That has nothing to do with.
Whenever you have something like that, Johnny, I'll just make this final point. Whenever you have something like that, to me, it's kind of like, that's not a convincing case for me to get a shot.
No. That's in the Bible. You stay away from that.
Yeah.
When you see stuff like that, you stay away from that. That's not for the betterment. That is
not for the betterment of humanity.
That is false gold right there. That is all that is.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's move on to our happy.
Yes, let's do it. Why not? This is it. Jamie Apodi interviewed Pat Croce. He's been fighting cancer for a while. He's stepped away. He's talking about it. We just wanted to put that out there. Pat Croce is one of the greatest human beings that you'll ever find. We just want to play this for you. It's like 3 minutes long, but we'll just go for it.
Well, he's instantly recognizable. Beloved former Sixers owner and president Pat Croce has been out of the spotlight for years now. But after winning a battle with cancer, he's back and partnering with the American Cancer Society and 6ABC for a brand new initiative called Healed. Our Jamie Apodi joining us live from home now. And Jamie, you talked exclusively with Croce about why he's emerging now in this way with this organization.
Yeah, Brian, when we think of Pat Croce, we picture him courtside, right? It's been 20 years now since Croce and Allen Iverson and Larry Brown led the Sixers to the NBA Finals. Philadelphia fell in love with his fiery personality, his energy, his passion, his zaniness. Well, now let's just say we had to take the Action News van up a dirt road and then up another dirt road just to find him. And boy, does he have a story to tell.
At the end of last year, it wasn't COVID that touched me. It was T-cell lymphoma touched my body.
The Pirate fanatic left with his own X marks the spot, a 58-stitch scar across his chest after surgery and radiation.
I believe that I was graced with cancer. It wasn't a curse.
And so Croce has reemerged from 6 years entirely off the grid to partner with the American Cancer Society for his newest passion project, Healed.
Healed, Healed. Health and energy through active living every day.
Since last month, he's already helped raise $1.7 million, and it's just the beginning.
With a minimum donation, they can get this cool black lava bead bracelet with one green bead that represents unity. We're all in this together.
It's self-awareness that has brought Croce to this point. After turning 60, he went off in search of the happiness he was always chasing and found it within. He traveled the globe to Bhutan, studying mindfulness and introspection. And now he spends his days in tranquility here on the 53-acre private retreat outside Philadelphia he calls Meditation Hill. When Philadelphia thinks of Pat Croce, I don't think they think zen, relaxed, calm, because they think back 20 years ago to the Sixers and the crazy Pat Croce. Am I wrong in that?
You're not wrong at all. No, and so know this. That frenzied wheel I was on, I still enjoy now being on it, but I keep one foot at the peaceful hub.
He carved a 1.5 mile long Zen path through the woods by hand, laid each of these steps into a mountain of rock by hand, and developed a love for woodworking.
I made that.
You made the log cabin.
Made the whole log cabin.
By hand. Wow.
The how in the now creates the wow. How you do what you do right now in the present moment creates little mini ahas. And all those ahas add up to a wonderful day, and then a wonderful week, and a wonderful life.
Isn't he fabulous? Now, if you want to be
what a great dude. What a great dude.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, let's talk about Pat Croce, Johnny. You and I have each had opportunities to meet the guy.
Yeah, totally infectious. In fact, just great. It revived the Sixers to what it is now. Yeah, it totally did. Yeah. It totally did. If he would have never come about, the Sixers never would have. They would have been the worst team in sports forever. Nobody would ever. Yeah, they never would have cared. Yeah. Nobody would ever cared. The fans would have never cared. Allen would have never graced our lives. Shitty Larry Brown would never graced our lives. I love that. I actually lived really close to Larry Brown 2 years ago because he coached SMU when he actually lived in the same town that I did.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Hilarious.
That's awesome. Yeah.
But then he got caught and then he got fired for doing like Larry Brown does, but that's fine. I knew Larry was, cheating the whole time.
Oh, sure.
It didn't work out well in the NBA.
Oh, sure. I remember meeting Croce at a book signing. He had I think his book was I Feel Great and You Can Too, or something along those lines. I'm not quoting the book title, just trying to remember it. But
that sounds like
talk about infectious personality. My God. I mean, he was fired up in a book signing, and he was just, what's your name, Matt? Well, it's great to meet you, Matt. Blah, blah, blah. He signs the book, and it's back to me. It's like,
totally. He cuts a promo on you. That's what Pat Croce's great at. Yeah, he just cut a promo on all of us, and we're just like, we all got rosy cheeks, and we're just like, Pat Croce's great. That's what he does, and I love him for it.
Yeah, exactly.
I love him. He's an infectious personality, and I'm glad that he's well and he's doing stuff.
Love the quote that he says that he was graced with cancer. That's interesting.
Yes. Interesting. We are all graced with something. Stuff.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And we got to work through it. We got to help other people, because how will you help humanity if you're not actively being humanity?
How about him building the log cabin by himself?
Love it.
I mean, my God.
Love it. It sounds like something Pat Croce would do too. I got cancer.
I don't think so.
Build a log cabin. Sounds totally something Pat Croce would do.
Yeah.
Not out of the realm of.
Exactly. No, that's great. Yeah, we wanted to share that. It was really, really cool to see him. And God, you look at him, like some of the old videos too of him.
He looks great now. He looks even better.
He really does. I love the goatee. Like that goatee is like way down to there. It's like
he looks good. He looked great.
Good dude.
Good for him.
Yeah, absolutely. So Johnny, that wraps up episode 57.
Yep, it's all about the boom.
It's all about the boom, baby. And we think we brought it. So we brought it today. Right. But why don't we hit up our wonderful audience with our socials where people can find us?
Oh, absolutely. We are on Facebook, which we were extremely active on this week, putting out clips for 56, and we will be doing the same for 57. Yep. We are on TikTok and Instagram Reels. We don't post much Instagram. We do that more for news articles and stuff like that. But yeah, definitely check out our Instagram. Definitely check out our Facebook. Check out, it brings smaller videos. Oh, we're also on YouTube Shorts. We've been running that for a while, getting some views on that. So it just brings us back to the YouTube channel where we're housed.
Yeah, it's the Two Noobs Talking podcast. And of course, we love it if you like, share, and subscribe to our video. Into our channel as well. Helps us get the word out even faster. And then, of course, on our audio side, we're proudly supported by Podbean, John. That gets us out to where?
It automatically puts us out to Apple, Spotify, even though it blows. It's terrible. Spotify sucks.
Awful.
It's terrible. Yeah, they're just so bad. I don't even know why I want to do that every week, but Spotify is so bad. If you're listening to me on Spotify, know that I hate Spotify with every being that I have. So you are literally you are the troll in my life that I love so much. So thank you for listening on Spotify, the most terrible app that has ever existed on the planet. John, we're also on iHeartRadio. I'm doing that facetiously, by the way.
Of course.
Wink. We're also on iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts. We're Googleable, as Steve taught me. That's actually a word that we created, and it's hard to say. So we're Googleable. You can type Two Noobs Talking podcast into the Google machine, and it will actually bring us up.
That's awesome. That's awesome. For a minute there, I thought you were going to say, I hate Spotify with every being of my fiber. That would have been hilarious. But
it would have, but I'm not that creative. So.
Exactly. But of course, we also have our show notes that you can find at twonoobstalking.wordpress.com. And if you go there, you can enter in your email address and you hit it. The show notes show up in your inbox the very next day, which shows all the links to our articles that we listed here on our episode. So that's it, Johnny. I mean, 57 just kind of came and went, man.
Yeah, it did. Yeah,
but before we get out of here, do you have anything final to say?
Yes. Look on Teespring and our Facebook page, because we have a Let's Go Brandon t-shirt coming out. So let's go, Brandon. Whoever you are, we're still supporting you with t-shirts.
We love you, Brandon. Wherever you are, let's go.
Wherever you are, whoever you are.
Talk to you guys next week. Take care.
What do you make of all the fake news that is affecting?
If you don't read the newspaper, you're uninformed. If you do read it, you're misinformed.
What do you do?
That's a great question. What is the long-term effect of too much information?